Oh, thanks, Ultronymous. No audio. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So I'll start over again. Welcome to the Blue Gamer Bluecast Morning Show. I'm your host, Adam Blue. Every morning I'll talk video games and be reminded by the chat. Thankfully, I have them whenever there's technical issues, because that's part of the charm, if you want to say that. Is charm really the word? But yeah, anyway. Yeah, talking video games. Love video games, so there's always something to talk about, always news to cover. What do I want to start with today? If you watched yesterday's episode, I talked about how I played a lot of video games over this past weekend. It was an interesting situation. A lot of neat games came out that I've been playing. And then there was some stuff with the kids. So people were gone from the house for long periods of time. So I was like, man, I'm just going to play some games. Played VR. I got my arcade back there. It was so much fun time. But like, I guess a good example is yesterday, Monday, back in the office, or not really actually, because I'm just here, but back at work, my day job. And then during lunch, I did the Free Speech Geek weekly podcast. You should check that out. I actually should link that. But that's with Stephen the Midnight Hatter and Kyle of Simply New Type and Free Speech Geek. That's like his main thing. Anyway, we talk just things other than video games. So that's a lot of fun to do. But anyway, yeah. So the rest of the day was just catching up with work again, Mondays, and then I only played a little bit actually last night, and it was just some more of Half-Life Alyx. And actually, should I share this? Not that there's really much to share, actually, because yeah, I didn't play too much, but I spent more time in Half-Life Alyx. Actually, I let my youngest at first, because as soon as I was like done with work, I think we were doing some things around the house. Then I sat down, turned on the VR, about to put it on, and my son's like, "Hey, can I try it?" And I was like, yeah, let him try it, get that out of the way. I mean, he has his own VR, but he doesn't have the capabilities of playing Half-Life Alyx to the degree I can on the Quest 3. So, and he loves it. He says it's the best VR game he's ever played. And I'm actually shocked how good Half-Life Alyx is. I mean, it makes me think how much there's so many games that could be made at that level. When you're playing Half-Life Alyx, it feels like you're playing a video game. It doesn't feel like I'm playing a gimmick. It's done very well, especially considering some of the things like, on your hands in game, you wear these gloves that have all these like tricks and stuff. I like that you can like go, if you see like an item you need, you could just aim at it and flick it over to you and catch it and then put it in your backpack. Like the movement is very natural. Like, yeah, I love flicking something to me, grabbing it, putting it in the backpack. It's not that it's like hard to do. Oh, I pulled it off. I'm awesome. It's actually very easy to do. The game makes it very fun. That the systems for VR work very well. It's very well done. I would recommend this. In fact, I almost feel like it's a must play if you have the opportunity. you need to play Half-Life Alex. And I think it came out in 2019 and I should have played it then, but I just wasn't sold on VR, especially when I got the PSVR and I thought it had some fun gimmicks to it. But yeah, the Quest 3 really changes everything. It really does. Okay, let's look at some news that I came across. So I tend to use this website a lot called Time Extension. I think it's more retro leaning, but it's kind of more, I guess, esoteric gaming in a way. Like they have this kawaii Nintendo Wii the size of a keychain. That's amazing. It looks like it has little GameCube controller ports there. Yeah, the Wii used that, right? Because the Wii had the little flap for controls. Some other interesting things like a Batman Revenge of the Joker fan overhaul on Genesis. I love that stuff. It's like a ROM hack. And I don't mess with too many ROM hacks just for specific games, but the more I come across them, the more it's like, I would love to revisit this game that didn't turn out the way I liked, but with a ROM hack, it makes it more enjoyable. Yeah, like this Halo for Game Boy Color. That's not necessarily a ROM hack, but what is interesting I was like, wow, someone made a Halo Game Boy game, and I know that's been like a thing to make games in Game Boy style, but there's actually a Game Boy game creator. Like this website's cool. Like, look, I'm moving the mouse and it moves this little GB Studio thing, but this is a real thing to make games. And I'm trying to find the right motivation to get more on the development end of game design. And I might want to try this out and just see what I can put together because it's just really cool seeing stuff like that. Especially this, like someone with the limitations tried to make it look like Master Chief coming out of the cryo thing, and then making it like a top-down game. Like that's so funny. It reminds me of like the Game Gear time, especially when a lot of action games would come to Game Gear, but then be top-down. Because they would try to do, during that time, I think first-person shooters were like first coming to like Genesis and Super Nintendo. You had Doom, you had Zero Tolerance. And, you can't necessarily do that on Game Gear. Game Boy had that, Face 2000? I forget what the name of the game was, but it was kind of a first person, but the graphics are very minimal. But yeah, I just remember playing action games as top-down games because that was like the way to do it, especially like when Game Boy Advance came out too. There was a lot of cool top-down games they made. Anyway, that's just really cool. I'd love to not only play this, but also mess around with that. Yeah, Game Boy Studio. Let's see. What is the other thing I wanted to talk about? Okay, real quickly on the gaming leaks and rumors. Wow, it's crazy to think the new 5000 Nvidia cards are coming. Where I have a 3080 Ti that I've had for 2 years now, and it has served me so well. But that was the same thing. The card before that I had was a 1070, not even a Ti. For the longest time, I thought it was just the 1070. I had that all up until the 3080 Ti. It's crazy how much really you can get out of your gaming tech and just do minor upgrades without having to spend too much. I've been very successful with that. Like there was a time where I could name all the video cards I had, but there's there's really large gaps between when I would get video cards because they would they always work for the longest time. I'm trying to think. Did I even have a 900 series before that? And then I went AMD for a little bit. There was a time, I think in the early 2010s, that I had an AMD card, ATI AMD. I forgot what it was really at that time. And did I like buy it used or something? I forgot what the deal was, but I was able to get a really high-end card for a good deal that was a generation before, and it lasted me for so long. And like, okay, when do I decide when to upgrade like parts of my computer? Well, usually I think what happens is the CPUs can usually last a couple generations, and it's the video card that I have to um upgrade every once in a while. And uh, it's it was different. Back in the day, it was getting 60 FPS. Like if I couldn't have a consistent 50 60 FPS at 20 at 10, oh my god, I can't speak, at 1080p, that's when I would look to upgrade. And I think this last card, the 1070 Ti, I remember playing Resident Evil 7 in 4K. And so it's kind of cool. Cards can really last a while. Anyway, hey JamKillex, good to see you. Okay, let's see what else did I pull up. Yeah, let's talk about this for a second. There is no spinning how poorly Sony's Concord Open Beta went on Steam. This is from Paul Tassi, senior contributor at Forbes. While initial Steam numbers did not look great for the Open Concord Beta this weekend, the end result is even worse than I had anticipated. I expected at least some level of surge from its initially low player count as the beta got going and we hit the weekend. Sundays are generally when most games peak, after all. Oh my gosh, everything just that did not happen. Instead, its player count declined. There are two main problems here. The peak for a free open beta is way too low. The game peaked at 2,388 players. I didn't think about that because it's really just an open beta. What is actually expected from that? Does it depend on the game? But this is a game that's going to be $40. That could be what people are thinking. They're like, okay, there's this multiplayer shooter coming out that has a beta, but when it comes out, it's 40. But then I could play all these other, like First Descendant, Once Human. There's these Throne in Liberty, and then there's that Dragonborn. There's like so many free-to-play games you could be playing right now. Interest in the beta declined from day one. And I think, yeah, the difference between Concord and Helldivers 2 is Helldivers 2 looks like a more unique experience. Like, it doesn't look like it's, oh, this is a multiplayer shooter. When you look at Helldivers 2, it looks awesome because of what it's doing. It's showing how it's mainly co-op against AI, and there's all the different planets and all that. Interest in the beta declined from day one. This may be the most concerning point, honestly. One of the positives that Concord has going for it is that gameplay can in fact feel pretty fun, but this chart indicates that there's very little word of mouth getting other players to try, and those who were playing became disinterested quickly and did not stay around. From its Thursday launch, player count declined every single day, and what should have been a peak Sunday was its lowest day of all, peaking at just 1,117 players. So yeah, if it declined by Sunday, it means word of mouth was bad. Word of mouth was bad to the point of not even it being interesting enough for someone to be like, oh, I'm curious what's so bad about this. Even me. I didn't want to spend time with that. There was also the Gundam Breaker 4 open network test. I would like to see numbers on that. Wasn't on Steam though, but that I played instead. So yeah, it's 40. They're saying the roster's not, some things like roster's not compelling. I mean, maybe to you, who knows with that, but it being $40 definitely is it being $40 and looking like a standard shooter. And the reason this is in the news is because this is coming from Sony. Sony is relying on this for PlayStation, and we like to take swings at Xbox, like with Hellblade 2, but at least that Hellblade 2 is a unique experience. Yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting. Ultronum saying, I imagine good with how quickly the GB4 multiple rooms were filling up. Oh, that's cool. That I did not know. I did not even mess with any of the multiplayer stuff for that beta, and I should have. So anyway, just the reason I even want to talk about Concord in this first place is because I'm always fascinated by the missteps that Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo could make, because they are the big three platform holders. And I look at them a little more scrutiny. I even get defensive for either side when people call them out for certain things. And it's like, okay, we got to look at it from a certain perspective, and I applaud different companies for different things, like Sony getting the 2 CEO thing that Warner is doing. I think that is an excellent idea. You have someone that looks at the business end, the numbers, and you have someone that's there for the creative part of it to kind of work together on that. Yeah. And then, Microsoft has some interesting news too. I think we'll get to, in fact, I think that's what this is about. So, no, that's not this, But Xbox Game Pass revenue expected to hit 5.5 billion. I mean, I don't know how important that is. There was another more specific, where is it? So anyway, maybe we'll talk about it later, but apparently, and I think I might have mentioned it briefly yesterday. Anyway, there is rumor that there's going to be a cloud-based Game Pass tier that's going to be super cheap, and it's just for cloud streaming. But this will then work on any now that with the Fire Stick TV, and cloud streaming allows for GeForce Now, which is pretty crazy. That is a good idea for Microsoft. Make it cheap to get in. It's going to be ad supported, which it's kind of weird. You're paying for something, but still getting ads, but that's kind of always been the case. Even like cable TV, you had to pay for cable TV, and you got commercials. I don't know where I stand exactly on that, just because there probably needs to be some sort of revenue stream that's not crazy. Like when I'm on Amazon, even though I pay for Amazon, there's ads like at the beginning of The Boys. It's not too bad. It goes by really quick. I want to even say sometimes you can skip, maybe. But that I think that's what Xbox needs right now is have a tier that's very clear. That rhymed. That is that's the culmination of what the future of gaming is. It's sort of like a Netflix thing, have a cheap cloud-based service that you can access on any device. So we'll see how that works out. Okay, what else did speaking of ROM hacks from earlier, Castlevania is Super Mario World with Castlevania's Bite. So this is cool. This is something I feel like I would love to play. I was watching some of it. Even the music choices for this and I wonder if this is one of my favorite tracks from Castlevania. I have a lot of favorites. Like this one specifically from Bloodline Sega Genesis game. It was from the first level. And then this is, typical vampire killer. But anyway, it looks cool. It looks awesome. Like just watching it, listening to the Castlevania music and playing Mario, like in the theme, the way it looks, it's almost like it's just blending Mario, parts of Mario that look like Castlevania and Castlevania together. I like that we see the 3 hearts at the top there. What does that mean? Or is it like a new health system? Or anyway, I'll try to play this later. That's pretty cool. Let's see what else. Jamkill X. Let's see. But at least the commercials were sponsoring the networks to create content, but will ad revenue be going to the dev studio? That's a good question. That you bring up a good point. Like, commercials made sense back then. It was like, okay, we're a company. It's like sponsoring. It's just like for YouTube channels when they get a sponsorship. It's like, hey, I know if I got my brand in front of your audience, I could make some money. So how about I pay you to put my brand in front of your content? That way you can make content, and I think that's a good exchange, really. But what's also interesting is, what was it? We were talking about it yesterday. Yeah, maybe watch the free. I forget what we were talking about exactly. Watch the Free Speech Geek podcast from yesterday. Because we were talking about this and I forgot how we were articulating it. But anyway, let me move on real quick. From Ultronymous, 3 hearts would cover Fire Mario, Normal Mario, and then Small Mario. That's actually, that makes complete sense. Yeah, and then that would make sense because even in some Castlevanias, when you get an upgrade to your whip, when you get hit, you lose that upgrade. And that reminds me of like Ghosts and Goblins also, how that works. Yeah, I really want to try this out. Hey, bro, from Monica Steven 1. Hey, bro. All right. Let's see. What is some other news that I pulled? Oh, this is old, but I came across it when I was browsing the site. So there's Monolith, who, if I'm not mistaken, they were the developers of like the original Blood. They went on to do Or that or it was Blood 2. Then they went on to do the Fear series. Yeah, let's see. Monolith developer. Let's look at actually their games. Uh, okay. So yeah, Blood. They did do the original Blood. Okay. Cool. Claw, never tried that. Looks interesting. Yeah, Blood 2. That was interesting. I didn't play Blood 2 until about 7 years later, 7 or 8 years later. And it's weird that I didn't play it back when I did it because Blood I was obsessed with. I played that game like crazy. Um, let's see, Blood 2. Um, No One Lives Forever, PlayStation 2 version. Alien vs. Predator 2. Yeah, Fear. We get into the Fear games. They did really good. So let's see. Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor came out in 2014. That's interesting. So what happened was, oh, and I wasn't even really sharing it. I'm just looking at the list of games that they made. Okay. So what's interesting now to go back to where I was, which I completely forgot which tab. Here we go. Monolith had been working on a Batman game before, I guess, Rocksteady's thing, and this was based on the Dark Knight trilogy from Christopher Nolan. But Christopher Nolan wouldn't sign off on the game. I guess that was a stipulation about this game being made. So what's interesting is then Monolith then just reworked this for the Shadow of Mordor. So the Nemesis system was originally developed for a Batman game, and that makes more sense because of Batman's, villains that he could come across. That makes more sense than the Nemesis system that was used in Shadow of Mordor was just some random enemies, even though that worked. But I like that the original intent was for a Batman game that didn't come out because the director of the movies didn't sign off on it. Which again, as much as I'm into filmmaking and I want to be a film director, the average or more than average film directors out there don't understand video games or don't appreciate video games. Yeah, it's changing slightly as we see games come out, but I just think that's very interesting. Oh, again, how are you doing? I'm doing great, thank you. How are you doing? Re-release Alien vs. Predator 2. Yeah, I would love to play those games again. All of them, like even the remake, right? Because they did the Alien vs. Predator 2. I'm talking so fast, and they made the other one. How long have you been streaming, if you don't mind? Oh, long time. Today, 20 minutes. But on this channel, it's been off and on for maybe 10 years. So give me the answer. Wow. Okay. Okay. Hopefully that answer was okay. Kind of doing a show. But anyway, I just find that it's so fascinating with there was going to be this Batman game and it went on to that was the system used in Shadow of Mordor. All this stuff that happens that doesn't come to light. It's crazy. All right, let's actually jump into some of the latest news. So this is interesting. Assassin's Creed Shadows team addresses criticism and new message for the Japanese community. I don't know what the big deal is. Maybe I need to look into it more, but it's like anytime I see a title or topic about people complaining, people's apologize, I just move on now because it doesn't mean anything. No one is trying to hurt anybody in real life. We're just artistically expressing ourselves. I don't know if that's a take, but whatever. Despite 90% of its sales now digital, Capcom claims it won't stop producing physical games. Wow. Okay. I wonder if that is what I throw this around a lot, like the marketing budget. So continuing the physical production is like a marketing maneuver. It's by wherever there's those areas. It could be the Walmart. It could be for collectors. There's like those little, low-hanging fruits, I guess, of where they can either make money or just make their presence known. If you're walking around Walmart looking for a video game and most companies aren't making them physical, but then, someone's seeing some Resident Evil, they're going to pick it up. That might make a new fan. So I get that. Let's see. Yeah, Ubisoft publishes letter to Japanese community concerned about a set. Like, they don't need to. It's just people on Twitter complained, and then these companies think they have to answer to these people. And I'm excited about this game. It's Assassin's Creed, but samurai and ninja, 2 characters. I mean, that's exciting. All right. Let's see what else. Oh, a new performance capture facility. That's always cool for video games. Steam is a supermarket and your game is beans. Oh, that's funny. I mean, Steam is a supermarket and your game can be beans. And I think that's funny that people don't realize it, like how big Steam is. It's almost like the 4th platform holder alongside Xbox, uh, PlayStation, and Steam. It almost is. It's just they don't have enough first-party content. Although Steam and its success and its praises everyone gives them is exactly the direction Xbox is going. Xbox is going to do that same thing where they offer a place to play an awesome library of games. And it might be that they don't necessarily make them all. You know, I think that's a good comparison. Let's see. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 patch 7 closed beta has been delayed, but really the interesting news is here. It's been like a year, and I think this game still gets like 100,000 monthly players. So awesome that that game's so popular. Totally not my type of game. It's so funny how a game like this to me is not a video game type of game, but it is so popular. And I think it's so popular because it's not a video game type of game. This is a interactive role-playing experience. That's how I see more of it, like when someone wants to get some rich story, really get involved with their character, this is the medium and format to do that. So that's why it's cool. That's why I think something like that is cool and that it's successful. It shows how different types of experiences can be possible in video games. Capcom says it's considering how to make Mega Man games on a regular basis. In my opinion, they should regularly continue the 2D side-scrolling ones, maybe like every 2 years or something. But then every 3 to 4 years have a neat like 3D take on it or try to do something 3D. I'm thinking if there's any recent games I've played that would make for a good. And no, just think of like the typical third person shooting games and considering platforming. Yeah, I wonder if that's the path you go with Mega Man, like Mario, a 3D Mario, but you're Mega Man. You know, I'm just thinking of him moving around in the world, jumping around. Maybe the different weapons or shooters he gets from the bosses are actually like functions for different levels. Like, let's say you're in a level and you can't really beat it because you need to beat a certain boss that gives you a certain weapon, but then it can be used. I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential for 3D Mega Man. Oh, real quick. Jam Collect saying apparently a historian that Ubisoft was working who originally claimed that Yusuke was made a full samurai rather than an armed vassal had actually been discredited as false. Oh, well. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to. Let's see. Evidence of false records have been submitted and is getting Japanese government. Interesting. Yeah, but to what degree is it like false? Like, I guess the historian working. I guess I see what you're saying. This historian working for Ubisoft is claiming some historical facts about Japan that's not true. Yeah, and then yeah, I could see Japan then saying, "Hey, look, this is a game going out to the world. I would rather the truth be known." But then outside that, it's a video game, so they can do whatever it wants. But I can understand maybe just wanting to get the facts straight. So Alternative was just saying for Mega Man to finish Legends and ZXA, that actually then might be the better move, actually, because I do think for fans of the series, they are asking for those types of games. I mean, I hear it all the time, and I don't even play them. So, yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. We really just know that Yasuke existed and and that he served under Nobunaga. The rest. Oh, okay. So it's almost like they're saying this happened. This is fact. Where it's like, well, only really, whatever the case, it should be a good game. And I think there could be like Japan talking to Ubisoft. Hey, let's clear the air, but then maybe on social media or whatever news articles make it seem like it's a big deal or something. I don't know. Okay, let's see what else is going on. Oh, why did it do that? Okay. Research identifies suspicious behavior on Steam Marketplace that may suggest money laundering. Wow. Interesting. It's almost like what art dealing, where it's a way to move money is through art sales. Another way could be through um, digital items. That totally get it. Okay, I think that might be it. That might be it for today. So yeah, what was the most interesting news from today? I don't know about news, but I thought that Game Boy Color dev kit thing is really neat. I didn't know that existed. I might try to mess around with it to see if it gets me to do something moving forward. Um, Other than that, let's see. The Nvidia getting delayed. That doesn't really matter. There's that cloud only Game Pass tier. That might be, I guess, the main takeaway from today, right? Anyway, that's about it. Thanks to all for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with some more news. It's possible that Thursday's show won't be live, but I will still have a show go up. So, um, yeah, might be the same as normal. There's no chatting. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here, but I'll talk to y'all later. See ya. Have a good rest of the day.